He never meant to love her. Not even a little. When Adrian Hale, only son of the Hale Empire, married the quiet janitor from his office, everyone thought he'd finally lost his mind. Truth was darker. He'd done it as a joke. A bet. A cruel dare designed to sting his father, who believed love belonged only to their class. Mara didn't know that. She stood there on their wedding day with trembling hands and a soft smile, thinking she'd somehow been chosen by fate. She didn't know Adrian had once laughed and said to his friends, "Watch. I'll marry the janitor. It'll be hilarious." They laughed with him. He laughed the loudest. He never expected her to say yes. The first days were cold. Adrian barely looked at her. She cooked. He ignored it. She cleaned. He didn't thank her. She tried to talk. He answered with one-word replies. But she didn't complain. She carried her silent bruises like she'd practiced all her life. She stayed gentle, patient, heartbreakingly hopeful. And that made him uneasy, because cruelty is easiest when the other person hates you, not when they look at you with shy kindness. But he kept the act going. He promised himself he wouldn't feel anything. Then his father died. The memorial was massive. Politicians, CEOs, cameras, mourners in designer black. Adrian stood there in a tailored suit, jaw set, face like stone. He didn't cry. He refused to. Crying was for weak men, his father always said. But grief had a way of undoing even the strongest lies. He was shaking. And that was when Mara walked in. Until that moment, nobody noticed her. She had always been the invisible one, cleaning floors in the background, living in shadows, never taking up space. But now, for the first time, she stepped into the light. Gone were the oversized shirts and tied-back hair he was used to seeing. She wore a simple black dress, modest, elegant, fitting her like it had been made for her. Her hair fell softly around her shoulders. Her eyes, usually downcast, were lifted, and there was something in them that made the entire room shift. Strength, stillness, kindness that refused to die, even in grief that wasn't hers. She was luminous without trying, beautiful without meaning to be. People turned, whispered. Someone asked, "Who is she?" Another murmured, "Is that Adrian's wife?" Adrian's breath caught. For the first time since he married her, he really looked at her. And he felt something break open inside him, something he didn't want to name. Mara approached him quietly. She didn't touch him. She simply stood beside him, close enough for him to feel her warmth. "You don't have to stand alone today," she whispered. He swallowed hard. "I'm fine." But he wasn't. And she must have known, because she didn't walk away. When the speeches began, Adrian froze. Everyone expected him to talk about his father. But words tangled in his throat. His vision blurred. The world tilted. Then a hand slipped gently into his. Her hand. Small, steady, certain. It wasn't a dramatic gesture. It wasn't meant for the cameras. It was quiet support. Something he'd never received from anyone, not even family. He didn't pull away. Her fingers tightened around his as if she knew he was unraveling. And he was. But with that touch, something anchored him. Breath returned. Color returned. The room steadied. And he hated how much he needed her in that moment. After the memorial, while people gathered around him with forced condolences, Mara stayed in the corner, giving him space, respecting a world she didn't belong to. She wasn't trying to impress anyone. She wasn't trying to be seen. That made her impossible not to see. Later, when they finally reached home, Adrian loosened his tie and slumped into a chair. Mara quietly set a warm drink beside him. "You didn't have to come," he muttered. "I know," she said softly. "But I wanted to." He stared at the drink. "Why? After everything?" "Because grief is heavy," she whispered. "And I know how heavy loneliness can make it." He looked up. "You don't even know me." Mara shook her head. "Maybe not. But I can still care." Her words hit him harder than anything spoken at the memorial. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Adrian woke up early, walked to the kitchen, and found Mara there, hair messy, sleeves rolled up, humming quietly while making tea. He stood in the doorway watching her, and for the first time he saw the quiet exhaustion around her eyes. She'd cried last night, but silently, so he wouldn't hear. Why? Why would she cry for him? "Did you sleep?" he asked before thinking. Startled, she turned. "Yes, of course." But she lied badly. For the first time, he felt guilt instead of pride. Over the next weeks, small cracks formed in the walls between them. Adrian came home earlier. He started listening when she spoke. He began noticing her. How she tucked her hair behind her ear, how she always carried band-aids, how she whispered to plants when she watered them, calling them little warriors. He liked her laugh, soft but real. She didn't demand anything, not love, not money, not attention. She simply existed with quiet grace, healing every room she walked into without meaning to. One evening, he found her sitting on the balcony, hugging her knees. The night breeze lifted her hair, and she stared at the city lights like she was memorizing every sparkle. "What are you thinking about?" he asked. She looked startled. "Nothing important. Tell me anyway." She hesitated, then whispered, "I was thinking, how two people can live together and still feel 1,000 miles apart." The words hit him straight in the chest. "Mara. You don't have to say anything," she murmured. "I know what this marriage is." He stiffened. "You do." Her smile was painful. "People don't marry janitors because they're in love. I'm not stupid. I've known since the beginning." He froze. She knew. All this time, she knew. "I wanted to leave," she continued, "many times. But then your father got sick. And I saw how you cared for him. I saw the boy you must have been before life taught you to hide your heart. And I couldn't walk away from that." He sat beside her, stunned. "Mara. I did something unforgivable. I know," she whispered. "But you can choose who you become after." The next day, he canceled meetings. The day after, he spent the whole afternoon helping her fix a loose kitchen cabinet. He found himself smiling more, talking more. He learned she loved old poetry and hated thunder. She learned he feared hospitals and slept badly. Slowly, painfully, they began moving toward something neither had planned. But the real turning point arrived at the reading of his father's will. The family gathered, relatives who hadn't visited the old man in years. Whispers filled the room when Mara entered. Some sneered. One aunt said loudly, "That girl doesn't belong here." Adrian bristled, but before he could speak, Mara lowered her eyes and stepped back, ready to disappear. "Not this time." He reached for her hand, holding it in front of everyone. "She stays. She's my wife." The shock in the room was instant. Even Mara froze. As the will was read, Adrian barely listened. He looked at her, the woman he had once mocked, and realized his world had rearranged itself around her without his permission. When the meeting ended, he pulled her aside. "Mara," he whispered, voice rough. "I need to tell you something. The truth." She held her breath. "I married you for a stupid reason. A disgusting one, and I'm ashamed of it every day." She closed her eyes, pain flickering across her face. He continued, "But the man who did that isn't the man sitting in front of you now. I don't want to joke about you. I don't want to hide you. I don't want to hurt you ever again." Her voice was barely audible. "Then what do you want?" He took her hands, trembling. "I want to earn you. If you'll let me." Tears filled her eyes, not from sorrow, but from a hope she'd tried to kill many times. "Adrian, I didn't need a perfect man," she whispered. "I just needed an honest one." He exhaled shakily and pulled her into his arms. For the first time, she didn't feel like a prop in someone else's story. She felt chosen, truly chosen. Weeks turned into months. Their home warmed. Their conversations deepened. Adrian learned how to apologize, how to listen, how to laugh again. Mara learned how to trust that his affection wasn't temporary. One autumn morning, he found her watering plants on the balcony. The sun lit her gently, turning her hair into gold. He wrapped his arms around her from behind. She stiffened in surprise, then relaxed into him. "Mara," he murmured into her shoulder, "I should have waited to marry you, until I could do it with a clean heart." She smiled softly, and now, he turned her around, cupped her face, and said, voice breaking, "Now I would marry you for the right reason." "What reason?" she whispered. "Because losing you terrifies me more than anything." A tear slipped down her cheek. "Then ask me properly." He sank to one knee, breath shaking. "Marry me. Not as a joke. Not as a dare. Marry me because I love you." She covered her mouth, eyes brimming. "Yes," she breathed. 1,000 times yes. He rose, kissed her forehead, and held her against his chest as the morning light wrapped around them. The world would always whisper. The world would always judge. But Adrian no longer cared. He had married the janitor for a cruel joke. But he was going to love her for the rest of his life.